ask them what it was like, what happened, and a little bit about the benefits of not using. Thank you. Don't fucking touch me. Don't touch me, dude.
Get off me, bro.
Don't fucking touch me. So thanks,
Steven.
I don't even want to say thank you. What got you started? Don't drag this out like you normally do.
Warning, warning. Drug addiction is terrible. Our goal with this video is to deter anyone from using the same substances that we did and making the same mistakes. We're trying to highlight the negative side of drug use and addiction. So this video is for educational and harm reduction purposes only, and thus should not result in our channel being terminated.
What got you started in your meth addiction?
Well, I don't know about any of those, but I can tell you, mentally, meth made me feel like I was a superhero and could do anything, and physically, it made strong.
Thank you. All right. So next question: when you first started doing meth, what benefits did you find? Were there anything that you improved on, or that you thought you did anyway?
Yeah, definitely. When I would smoke meth.
Great answer. Go ahead.
When I smoked meth, I was super handy with my hands, and when I smoked meth, I was super handy, and I would, figure out engines and different small motors and stuff. So I would go in people's garbage cans looking for fans and generator motors and things of that nature, and then I would take them apart screw by screw.
Oh yeah.
And then usually fall into psychosis by that point because I was up for 4 days and I would just never put anything back together or fix it.
Seriously though, what did you feel was the reason why you loved it so much? Like, what were at least the main factors that got you hooked?
Honestly, I would say at that point I'd probably been in addiction for a number of years, coming on to a decade of when I was younger, psilocybin, other psychedelics, then a lot of weed, alcohol, always intermittently between that. And I just started graduating, and a little bit of coke here. So I was out west a lot, so we rolled on beans and whatnot. I found myself attracted to opiates mostly though, so I got into heroin. So that primed me up realistically for just, I kept crossing that line that at one point in my life I was like, I'll never do drugs when I was like a kid. And then some trivial reason I wanted to fit in or whatever made me cross those lines, and I kept pushing the line farther and farther, and meth was so far off the spectrum. I knew for a fact I would never ever smoke meth. It was the dirtiest, gnarliest drugs.
Seeing people that were tweakers were
why would you ever want to do
walking
that?
Hell, yeah.
Literally zombies.
Yeah, scary.
So years down the line I became one of those zombies. But really what led me into it was a gradual, it was the line had been crossed so many times that the line was almost just absent. It was like a complete blur, and that stemmed into a lot of my moral boundaries.
Yeah.
Not only just drug use, but I would say meth was just another notch on the belt.
Yeah.
And it was something very different, I would say, from anything else. Not that it was necessarily good. I didn't really enjoy it really, but it was just a different experience. And it was, I would say, a lot more attractive in the beginning. And I did feel kind of good, even with a heavy blanket of anxiety. At first it started in through all my drug education, I knew uppers, when you're coming down off it, doing drugs, you want to stay comfortable. That's the whole pursuit. So when I was coming down off the high, but it's still the residual effects of the drug, which just left you in anxiety and paranoia, I would use heavy amounts of Xanax and or mix it with heroin or things of the downer nature.
Right. Yeah. That's me personally. I never responded well to stimulants, any kind of upper, but if it was mixed with any kind of downer, that's when it was okay, I understand, I get it. But any other time, it's no, I'm fucking anxious, I'm overthinking everything, I feel it was the opposite of what I wanted in a drug. I noticed that, there's different addicts, and there's people who use for different reasons. Some people look at addiction way different than I ever did.
Right.
Like they look at it more like it's like I'm more productive, I'm more active. You know, everybody's got their own like justifications.
And more artistic.
Right, whatever it is. And yeah, I was more into feeling comfortable than I was being productive, or I didn't see the value.
Right. And I was thinking about this not long ago. It's like man, say like you did some drug or drank alcohol and you felt more sociable. You know what I'm saying? But objectively, if you're looking at yourself and it's like you were like white girl wasted,
Yeah.
like a hurricane,
Yeah.
and people really disliked you
Yeah.
because of it, still what was more important that I felt that you liked me.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? It's like that's what
And
the appeal is.
it's only like a portion. Like you maybe get like 1% of all the times using it that you actually get that like socially lubricated up on the ball kind of guy.
Right.
So on the day to day, what was it like? Was it like what you see in these, what I see in these movies? Was it like, you really feel like mentally, at least like, was it like when you look inward, did you feel like you really were totally separated from society? Because at least that's my perception. Like, I feel like looking at like a meth addict, like a meth addiction, it seems like they're on a totally different game. Like they're playing an entirely different game where that's good in some aspects, but for the most part, it's different. Like it's not good, it's not bad, it's different. So you can get those like dissociative feelings about life and about society. Like I feel like looking at like a meth addict, like a meth addiction, it seems like they're on a totally different game. Like they're playing an entirely different game where that's good in some aspects, but for the most part, it's different. Like it's not good, it's not bad, it's different. So you can get those like dissociative feelings about life and about society. Like was that part of it? Like do you feel like, you were just totally disconnected, or did you feel more plugged in, and did you feel like,
I would say this. It really is so hard to describe it, really, because it alters your perception completely. So it's not like anything, like you can't compare it or explain it from a relatively normal perception. Because it's like, say I would take meth, and then if I was around people, I would feel like, and I had to engage in the world. Like, and not just to inanimate objects or to myself. I could feel the difference of like myself, how I normally would feel. It's like I was aware that like it usually doesn't feel like this. I usually don't think this of people and whatnot. And there would be a lot of social angst, and you'd always want to like curb it by getting away from it or doing more drugs. But like when you were alone, because like meth, it almost makes your brain so active that it's too active. There's too many. Your awareness can only be in one place at a time, but it feels like it's trying to be like jerked all over the place. And so like it almost makes you just focus on one thing. And that's why like taking apart fans and stuff, screw by screw, are like things that people do, or like like mend a fence, and like, or you just find like little tasks, or like, or even with the social aspect, if I'm by myself and I think about other people, that's okay. I can think of them in relation to me however I want in my like, like psychopathy basically. It's really like
Right.
you're not normal, and
Yeah.
like, so
But then when you're in the setting, it's like,
you can feel how different you are, and
Yeah.
it's nerve wracking,
yeah,
and like it's not comfortable, and you really
Yeah.
just want to like get away to enjoy. It's like you just spend
Yeah.
money on drugs, and it's
Yeah.
like just like anything. Like if you smoke some weed and you get pulled over by a cop, you'd rather not be around someone who makes you anxious, because you're doing this for a reason. It's
yeah.
it's to enjoy it in whatever
Yeah.
sense that is. And it's
Yeah.
like social interaction and methamphetamine do not mix. Even
It's
when
like
you're
it's like a lot of substances too. Like you get at least that thing where it's like you get the high, and like anything that comes in to disrupt it, you don't want to deal with it, and it's like, but like the big thing for me was like, if something would like disrupt it, it would feel like I just wasted it. Let's go into the end, right? Some of the serious consequences that came of it, and the points in which you started to think maybe this wasn't a good idea, and wanting to stop.
Oh man. See, there was a lot of times where the circumstances, physically, outside of myself, the circumstances I was in, should have made me want to stop. And it might have, like foxhole praying, like I'm on my way to jail, and I'm like, please get me out of this.
Right.
And but then right when I found myself back in a place where I would want to be in life, it never changed anything. I just went back to what I knew or what I wanted to do. And so it took a lot of not only circumstances, but a slow churning of my perception, and realizing, because I it's almost like I stopped pursuing happiness, because in a sense that's what you do in drug addiction. You're in the pursuit of happiness, but it's in relation to happy now. I want to be happy. I wake up and it's play now and I'll pay later, and I was always conscious of that. I
Right.
knew I was gonna pay some way, but it was
Right.
I was I can deal with it. I'll pay now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll play now.
Right, and you'll deal with this shit later.
Right. And it's but then the shit came, and it's oh God,
It
I
sucks.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But it's so after enough play now, pay later circumstances, I started seeing the value in paying now, and then the playing became sustainable.
Yeah.
It's instead of instant gratification, the pursuit of happiness right now led me to a place I never wanted to be, and it led me to ultimate uncomfortability, suicide, jail, things like this,
Right.
of that proportion. So it's and it might have been because really I have no original idea. It's an accumulation of other ideas I've heard from other people, but at some point in my head, in my perception, I came up with the idea that it'll always be this way.
Mm-hmm.
I can't play the same game and expect different results. So basically, after a lot of circumstances, any one of them could have been humbling enough to make me stop. It really was just I had to get beaten because I was really stubborn, I guess. Looking back, I never felt stubborn. I felt pretty open-minded, but looking back, realistically, I was very stubborn. And it might have been not so much on my part. Well, of course it was. I'm not taking any of the blame off me, but I just didn't know any better. I wanted to change this and I didn't know how. And it took a complete revamp of my mind, or not a revamp, it was a complete execution of my character and all my physical assets to be okay, what do I do?
Right.
Because I obviously don't
Desperation.
know. Right.
Yeah.
Complete desperation. And it's that some people, it doesn't take that, but in my experience and a lot of addicts that I know, that's exactly what it took. But I've also learned from other addicts, you can choose, where your bottom of your life is.
Yeah.
You don't have to become homeless. You don't
Yeah.
have to go to jail. You can learn from other people's experience or put some forethought into it and say, all right, it is going down a bad path.
Yeah.
It's and as much as I want to believe that I can change it or manage it and steer it towards something better, I haven't seen a single person.
So, okay, so you stopped after a while, and you really used desperation, or at least you were gifted with a lot of desperation. After stopping, how did it turn out? Where did it lead you? Did you find that you had any kind of societal benefits and mental? Did you feel any better, or did you deal with any depression? And yeah, how was it like?
If you're living in a relatively good mode of being, you get, I got a vehicle back. I got, I patched some relationships that I held near and dear to me, and they came back into my life and stopped blocking my phone calls and let me into their house, and they weren't scared of me, stealing their tools out of their garage and whatnot, and all these, and that's not even superficial things, right? Human connection, but those were tangible people in my life that I got back. But on top of it, it's obviously, it's like I could hold a job now because I wasn't calling in so much because, you know, the dough man wasn't answering and I was withdrawing, or I
Right.
just like didn't give a fuck because I
Yeah.
woke up with the fuckets that day because I already had everything I need right there
Yeah.
in that bag. And it's like, so I had a job. I could save more money because I wasn't blowing everything on drugs.
Right.
I used to like go to the gas station, put 37 cents in my gas tank, a pack of
Wrapped in
cigarettes,
a blanket.
right, and like ask the dope man if I can give him $9 for the dime bag and owe him a buck later. Like, it's like I could save money. I got in a car, and everything just came after that. It was
Yeah.
like it's almost inevitable.
It seems like kind of basic. It seems like not really, you know, for somebody at least on the outside, or maybe somebody like right now, like if somebody's watching this and they are in addiction and they already have these things. Like, it seems like it's like not that big of a deal. But the biggest takeaway there is it's not just what each individual gets, it's the big difference, the biggest contrast for every single person. You know, you could have a ton of stuff, but I can almost assure you that there are a lot of things that are lacking, whether that's relationship-wise, financially, internally. There's going to be a contrast there that when you do stop using will change. Like, there will be serious benefits no matter how high up you are, no matter how far low you are. There's going to be a huge difference and a huge benefit.
It's almost self-evident. It's like, and like, I mean, it's like, stop doing drugs, they're bad for you, and it's like things will be better. It's like,
Yeah.
that's almost self-evident. How to do it is like a little bit more complicated, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like from that you can draw like, well, it's worth it. It's like you need some reason to do the thing that you least want to do. You need a
Right.
hell of a good reason. And
Right.
if it's not cars, clothes, and all the bitches and stuff, it's like, if you already have all of the superficial things, like you were saying, you get things that like you're obviously lacking, like
All right, that's good there. This is going to get too long. If you or anyone you know is struggling with addiction, let us know. Comment below. If you'd like to stay private, reach out to us directly. You can get over to our YouTube page where you can message us on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever the case, whatever your preference is. Feel free to reach out to us. We've had a ton of experience, finding and dealing with treatment centers. Had bad experiences as well as some really good ones. We can try to help steer you in the right direction and help find you or a loved one some help. Subscribe to our channel to learn a lot more about addiction, maybe help you or a loved one get through your addiction. Or if you're in early sobriety and you'd like to just join the conversation, join the community, subscribe, check us out on Facebook, on Instagram.